You know, I was talking to a school administrator the other day and he said, Mike, we have so many kids enrolled in our school, we're just going to abandon our safety program. We're back. We're flush with cash. We don't need to focus on safety anymore. Nah, that really wasn't a conversation that I had with the school administrator. The fact of the matter is, folks, that we're here again this year to discuss the issue of safety because it's critical that we focus on this as one of our primary goals during this upcoming school year. Now, I want to go to the conclusion before we go to what information you're going to need this year to be safe. The conclusion is this: if we're going to have a good safety record, then we have to have a plan. And the plan hasn't changed in 20 years. It's the same. People are getting hurt in the same ways now that they were before. Let's go right to the conclusion though. First, at your school, you've got to commit the issue of safety to prayer. 1 Thessalonians 5:17 says, pray ceaselessly over all things. We have to do that. We have to lift up our school in prayer. Secondly, we have to have the right people. We have to have the right training so that you understand how to do your job in a way where you won't get hurt. Third, we have to set safety goals and we have to address the issue of safety at least on a quarterly basis. Fourth, we have to update our written safety program because having a written safety program that's understood by everybody really is the key to making things work throughout the year. We have to set limits on activities that staff can participate in. I know that's kind of a tough one. I'll go through what those limits should be in a few minutes. The ministry itself, the church, the school, has to provide a safe workplace. And everyone has to comply with safety guidelines with a good heart, with a willing attitude. That's also very important. We can establish all the guidelines and procedures and training that we want, but if you're not 100% on board, it's not going to work. Finally, everyone's got to slow down a little bit. In this fast-paced world, the surest way to injure ourselves is to take shortcuts and to be operating in an environment where we're trying to do too much too fast. Individual effort is going to create great results for our team. So today, as you're watching this safety video, I want you to put these concepts that you're going to see today into practice. It's critical from a stewardship standpoint. It's critical that as part of our overall ministry goals, that we attack the issue of safety and make it an issue that is a strength of our church, a strength of our school, and not a weakness. Thank you for watching. Pay close attention in the next few minutes. All right, we're on location at People's Church in Fresno, on the campus of Fresno Christian School. When we talk about the issue of slips, trips, and falls, it's really complicated. You really have inside issues, you have outside issues. The big outside issue that we have is on the playground. If you look back here, we have a real live playground going on right now. The kids, they look innocent, but as you know, and as I know, they're not. They move around a lot. Have you ever been hit in the head with a ball? You're not even looking. You're standing like this, boom, you get hit in the head with a dodgeball. That's typically what happens on a playground. Then you fall down and not only do you have a hurt head or a hurt neck, then you have a hurt hip or a hurt knee or a hurt ankle because you fell after you got hit.
That actually is when we had most of our injuries, is because I think they're all in a hurry and not thinking and walking, not watching where they're walking. Most of my injuries were actually falls.
Literally, when you're working in a playground setting, you have to have eyes in the back of your head. You really do. Because the kids are little, they dart around, they move quick, they want to love on you, they want to be next to you, they want to be, I mean, you can hear them, right? They're having a great time. If you have yard duty or playground duty, it's critically important you understand how to not slip and fall when you're out there. The best thing to do is to keep a little bit of distance between yourself and the children, 2 or 3 feet. I recognize there may be times where you have to rush to help a child or help them up or get them out of a bad situation on top of a playground set. We all know that that happens. When you're in that situation, it's pretty important that you understand this is a prime opportunity for you to get hurt. So proceed with caution, proceed slowly, and make sure that you don't hurt your back or other part of your body that you might be needing to lift and carry that child. So playground safety and slipping and falling, The two fit together like a glove, and you've got to be aware of the hazards of being out on the playground. And by all means, don't get on the playground equipment yourself. If you take a real close look at that, it's not for you.
Instead of just guiding them in the activity, a lot of times the teachers were in the middle of it and participating. And a lot of times injuries can result from that.
Teachers walk backwards, or employees, not just teachers. They have a strange confidence in their ability to walk backwards. And we've had a number of injuries as a result of that.
What was wrong with that? I mean, really, how stupid am I for doing that? How stupid are you for doing that? Do you know what was wrong with that? Now let me show you how to do that the right way. One simple change went from a high probability of injury to a low probability of injury. You know, we talk about holding handrails all the time. Some of you don't do that very often. Every time you go down a set of stairs, even if it's 3 steps, and you're not holding a handrail, you're putting yourself at risk. You're also putting the school at risk or the church at risk. So when you're going up and down stairs, hold handrails, don't carry too much, don't block your vision. Those are the key points for not slipping and falling while you're going up and down stairs. I'll tell you what. You see this clutter? Well, as you can see, clutter can even avalanche on top of a big guy like me. You don't want to have messes like this laying around your campus, especially by exit signs and by stairwells. I realize that when we're getting ready for school, or even during the school year, we may be transitioning at times with furniture and equipment in and out of the classroom, but this was left here unattended. And so this is definitely a trip and fall hazard, it's a housekeeping hazard, and you don't want to leave areas like this exposed around your campus. Slips, trips, and falls can happen outside and they can happen inside. Let me show you 2 things I think you ought to be fired for, okay? And you may look at me a little funny when you see this, but if it was me, I'd fire you, okay? This is the first one. You're fired.
We have a 4-step program. And the first safety violation, they get a verbal reprimand, and it's written written up in their file. The second one, they get a written reprimand, and they have to sign that. And then the third one, they can get suspended without pay. And then the fourth one, they can end in termination.
Man, you get on a chair after 20 years of safety videos. If you're still getting on a chair to reach up and do something, you're fired. Just like Donald Trump, you're fired, okay? The second thing that would cause me to want to fire you is this. You're fired.
I would say, our injuries have been very few, but when occasionally there has been an injury, it's usually the result of somebody hurrying.
It's important that one of these be within your reach, whether it's in your own classroom or next door or across the hall, wherever it is. But this is a proper piece of equipment to use.
The custodial department could really assist teachers with making step ladders available.
All of our rooms, every single room, and even in the office at various spots, there are little step ladders.
And so the proper way to use this equipment is to step up and do what you have to do. And that's how you do that. But let me show you the improper way that people use this equipment sometimes. And they will actually get on the step ladder, and they'll be working maybe up in here, but then they'll say, well, I need to get over here. And then this is where disaster strikes. When you start leaning outside of the legs of this ladder, then you're misusing the ladder.
You know, we had a claim at one member's place where a gentleman was on a ladder trimming a tree, and there were some branches that were out of reach from the safe ladder position. So he put a leg up on a fence just to reach that, rather than getting down the ladder, moving the ladder, and going back up. And he ended up falling and sustaining a pretty severe injury to his lower leg.
So even if you have a step ladder in your room, it's important that you keep your weight in the center of it. And if you have to work over here, you just get down, move it, and get back up. It's a shortcut to lean, and if you lean, you could fall. Okay, by far and away the most common injury in the workplace is a lower back injury. And although most people hurt their backs when they do hurt them at home, there's still an explosion of back injuries taking place every year across America and everywhere else. So it's important that you understand the challenge that this presents to you when you're in a school or church setting. The worst problem we have is people that already have a bad back that still attempt to lift objects that are beyond their capacity.
One of the areas that I see, and I've talked to some members about, is utilizing their personnel appropriately for the appropriate jobs. Many of our campuses have people that have been there with them for 20, 30 years, and they're great employees and they want to do the work that they're doing and contributing to their campus. But sometimes they take on jobs that just really aren't a good idea for their advanced ages.
If you have a bad back, I implore you, don't test your back at work. Just don't lift. Take the time to get help, call somebody, but you yourself, don't put yourself in harm's way. I want to show you, just to illustrate the problem with poor lifting technique. Nothing makes me cringe more than this. If you'll notice I'm just bending over to lift a piece of paper, but I want you to look at the position I'm in right now. Even before I pick up the piece of paper, I'm putting several hundred pounds of pressure on my lower back, because when I'm in this position, my back muscles are supporting my entire trunk and my head before I've even lifted an object. That's the key critical mistake that people make, and why they hurt their back is because of poor technique. I have a saying that I've been using out there for the last couple of decades regarding how to lift properly. It's lift like a baby. And even when you have a light object like an overhead projector, lifting like a baby involves bending your knees, bringing the object up, and placing the object on a cart or a dolly.
Because lifting heavy objects is usually the most common incident that we see.
The other way that we can hurt our back at times is by lifting and twisting. And so you'll see people that lift and then they turn. And as soon as they turn, they put undue stress on their lower back. So lifting and twisting is another problem that we face. And it really falls in that body of work that we refer to as poor technique.
The number one incident that we've probably seen this year are teachers lifting things that they shouldn't be lifting. And so we consider that entirely preventable by having our facility staff called and brought over to help. They're always willing to do that. We're always fully staffed with our facilities department.
These are the best strategies for avoiding a back injury. And back injuries can be expensive. They can put you out of work for a long time. Nobody wants to have a back surgery. So be careful with your back. It's a very important part of your body. It's the part of your body most susceptible to injury, but also the part of your body where you can prevent injury merely by practicing proper lifting technique. You know, I know a critical component of being a school teacher is being able to have some fun with your students. I think what really keeps me up at night is the activities that we don't hear about. And they're all fun, and I'm the last person that would advise a school to not provide fun. But These activities that are pretty common, and I'll give you a list, are if you're going to allow staff to be involved in them, then you're really going to have to consider that if there's an injury, it's going to affect your workers' comp program. Things like snowboarding and skiing, roller and ice skating, skateboarding, trampolines, rock walls, surfing, paintball, dunk tanks. These are all part of retreats. They're a part of events that we do to get away. And while I think they do have a lot of value in building student and teacher relations and providing a full experience in the school, we have to understand that if we allow staff to be involved in these, that we're taking a real big risk with them. One way to potentially handle it is to make these voluntary for staff. That's potentially one way to reduce the risk of having these turn into a workers' comp situation, but the reality is that for teachers of all ages, while you're on the job, while you're being paid, these present hazards that could result in some pretty serious accidents. So my exhortation is for everyone to be careful. If you're going to do these activities, take precautions. The best case scenario is to make them voluntary or provide these for students without staff directly being involved in them. But these events, while fun, we need to really think about the extent we want our staff involved in them. Well, there may be a few of you that are wondering during this busy season why you're even here. Well, I think in part to reacquaint you with the issue of safety, to reacquaint you with the issue of workers' comp. You have to understand something. There's a lot of expenses that go on in your school and in your church. Workers' comp can be a large line item or it can be a small line item. It's like a tax. It's a tax on payroll. But unlike a regular tax, workers' comp fluctuates with how often you use it. So if you have more claims, the tax is higher. If you have fewer claims, the tax is lower.
Oh my goodness. This program has been such a blessing to our school because before we started it, our workers' comp bill was higher than our electric bill, which, trust me, is huge in the multi-thousands. So it was a major issue for us. And since that's happened, we get our workers' comp cost is now not even one that is a major budget issue anymore.
You have to understand what this is. This is not a consequence-free situation if you get hurt. There are consequences to it, not only for yourself, but financially.
You know, over the years, because of this particular group, we have had a considerable savings, and I believe a lot of it's because of Mike Manuel and the great job that he does and his team coming out, visiting us, spending time with us, giving us suggestions, giving us reminders, and because of that, that has been a huge savings.
We showed them how much it cost when they weren't being safe. So we showed how much money that the budget actually lost due to injuries that we had. We had a year, I think it was 2007, that was a pretty bad year. And it ended up costing us for 3 years, which sometimes requires that we lay off employees because we just don't have the budget. You know, actually, the way I looked at it was probably a couple of annual salaries.
So every employee that we have is covered under workers' comp, from the stipended coach all the way up to the administrator. And that's one thing we have to remember. Safety is an issue that is where nobody is exempt at all, from the part-time person all the way to our full-time staff. Well, in the unlikely event that you find yourself in a situation where you're injured, it's very important that you know exactly what to do. First of all, report that injury to your supervisor. It's critically important because of the California state laws that we report all work-related injuries immediately. Second, seek medical treatment at the authorized medical provider. California law provides a medical provider network for you to go to, not your own doctor. Third, when you have doctor appointments, you need to keep the appointments. Nothing makes a claim go worse than somebody that does not keep their doctor appointments. And then last, be willing to return to work. If you're willing to return to work, I guarantee you, you're going to heal up better, your body's going to do better, and you're going to get back to work faster. So again, report the claim right away, go to the doctor right away, the authorized doctor, keep your appointments, and be willing to return to work. If you do all of these things and you are hurt, your injury and your recovery will go smoother. So to get yourself ready mentally, you have to understand where the concept of safety really begins. And it begins in the mind. It begins with decisions that you make every minute of every day. And it begins with a fundamental understanding that if you make a bad decision, even in a day full of good ones, that decision could lead to a problem. What I see as most common with people is them being in a hurry. And we've mentioned that more than once today because that is a big problem. Being in a hurry means shortcuts. Being in a hurry means not thinking clearly about what you're doing. The other issue that I think affects all of us from time to time is fatigue. You know, we'd all like to be more rested. And I know that the job of a classroom teacher or a coach or administrator, a pastor, is tough. And by the end of any given day, you could be really wiped out. And that also can lead to poor thinking and poor decision making. A little more rare, but still a factor at times, is anger. And it can be just a moment of anger where you do something that causes injury to yourself or to somebody else. And so we have to really have our emotional game under control. And if we're going to have our emotional game under control, we have to have our spiritual life under control. And I realize that for a lot of us, it takes a lot of prayer just to get through a day.
It's the employer's responsibility to pray for the employees and add leadership. And safety is very much a part of the corporation culture.
And I would encourage that. I think it's a key component of everything that we're doing in our ministry. There's some disobedience out there at times. I mean, there's a certain percentage of you sitting out there right now watching this that are not taking this seriously. And so you're going to leave after watching this and you're going to go do whatever you want to do. If you were my employee, I would deal with that. Okay, I can't force your school or your church to deal with it. Obedience is a part of everyday life. I don't care where you work. And so the reason we have these issues and the reason we present this information is so that you'll have a willingness to be obedient to what God wants for our workplace, which is a safe workplace. Lastly, lack of knowledge at times can be a source of being hurt. If you're unsure as to what to do at times, then seek out training or seek out help.
Every employee is asked to attend 4 safety meetings.
We hold approximately 10 to 12 safety meetings throughout the course of the year.
Okay, now that you've seen all the information today, you're probably wondering, how do I create a culture of safety in my organization throughout the year? Well, we realize that that's a challenge for almost every church and school that we work with, and so we've developed comprehensive resources that are available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. First, our new YouTube channel, DMIG Safety. We're rolling that out in August of 2012, and we're going to house safety videos on that channel that you can use on command. They can be viewed not only on computers, but on mobile devices and things like that. But second, our on-site staff here at Dermanowell Insurance Group is here for you whenever you need the help. We have loss control specialists like Gabe Laurenti, claims specialists like Matt Havens. Amy Radix, our client service coordinator, is at your disposal to help you provide materials for your staff if you want to do safety training. You can see here, these are just a few of the materials that we have on our online portal called MyWave. And on the MyWave portal, there are about 2,000 safety resources at your disposal.
MyWave, which Michael DeManuel has set up. And we can record for Cal OSHA, we can record our injuries and keep track of them. And we get articles about safety. we print up articles from My Way, and we put them in employees' payroll envelopes.
You can access those anytime, day or night, with almost every topic available that might be relevant to you in your quest to prevent injuries from happening on your school site or on your church site. So there's a lot of resources available to you. If you ever have any questions about how to deploy those resources or ever need help in deploying those, you can just simply contact us at Dermanimal Insurance Group or send us an email, and we'll be happy to provide those for you day and night. Our goal is to make sure that you have the safest workplace possible and the healthiest and safest workforce possible. Okay, I hope this hasn't been too painful today. Safety is an important topic. I know you're trying to get ready for the school year. I know that you've got a lot of other things on your mind, but it's crucial that your school goes through this year with no accidents. It's crucial. We're starting to see things change a little bit in California with workers' comp. Rates are starting to creep up again. I'm getting a little bit concerned about it, but the beauty of the situation with safety, you control your own destiny. It's up to you. It's your decision. It's up to your church, it's up to your school to provide that good environment for you. But in the final analysis, day in and day out, whether or not you have a good record in workers' comp or a bad record in workers' comp, completely up to you. I mean, listen to the children. They're cheering for you right now to do a good job with safety. So have a safe year and look for a few more of these videos throughout the year as we address the very crucial and critical issues facing you in the workplace day in and day out. Thank you for watching.